I know it's only an hour. Yeah. But I get right over here.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order on October 1st, 2024. At this time, we're having our public comment period. Residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Forest Hills will be permitted to address council on any issue. You may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to rep 10 minutes. Citizens must use the microphone at the speaker stand. Clearly state name and address for the record and keep comments brief and to the point. Please spell the name for the record and note that we do not take minutes for committee meetings. We do not make decisions at this time, but we gather information for who the pertinent committee is that will address this issue. Mr. Tomasic, you were here first. Who was here first? I see. Who would like to come up and address council, please? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Abrams, Council President and council members. My name is Eileen Letson, last name Letson, Letson. My address is 507 Braddock Road. My husband and I have been residents of Forest Hills since October 1991. Moved in on to Braddock Road. Tonight, I'm speaking on behalf of the other residents here of Braddock Road with regards to a conversation that occurred between me and another resident, information that was passed on to us with regards to a parking ordinance that my understanding goes back to the early 1990s. It's with regards to the full parking lot. There's an ordinance out there that states that no parking and non-operation hours. They were putting up the signs. And
We don't know what the matter is. I'm sorry. Maybe it's a bad mic.
At this point, to be honest, we, since 1991, residents since 1991, this has never been enforced. We have parked multiple times over at the pool parking lot for various reasons throughout the year. Given maybe the weather, winter, our driveway is extremely steep. We'll park over there because it's flat, safe, very safe. For instance, back in 2009, January of 2009, my daughter and I were, an accident occurred in the driveway.
You were
Are we
saying?
good? Okay. With that, it was, the Steelers AFC championship game. Put my daughter in the car, the van moved all on its own. Started to go down to the driveway by itself.
You hear me good? Right. So kind of just going to touch on some items here on the engineer's report. So kind of just going through here, starting with the public works section. So Avenue D storm sewer. So State Pipe was awarded that at the September council meeting. We're currently coordinating a schedule with them to come out and do the televising so we can continue our work on that project. Kind of skipping down here, we just talked about the 2025 road review. So we can kind of skip over that. As for the 2024 road program, so that paving work was completed. The sealing has been completed as well. We did receive some resident complaints that to our satisfaction have been addressed. We do have a pay request coming in from El Grande for their work in September. We had a walkthrough with them. Myself and the manager attended earlier today along with a representative of the contractor. There are minor punch list items remaining, but they should be very easy to take care of. So I'd anticipate that we'll be closing out this project at the November meeting. Moving on down to item 4 here, Ardmore Boulevard and Avenue A storm sewer. Pre-construction meeting was held September 17th. We have received shop drawings and they have begun to mobilize on site. They are using the park and ride down along Ardmore and Avenue B right down there as a staging area. And they will be starting construction here probably in the next week or two. Woodside storm sewer repair, same thing, pre-construction meeting held September 17th. Contractor intends to, who is the same contractor for the Avenue A storm sewer and this project. They intend to move right over to this project once they complete Ardmore. For the MS4 items, LLC has completed the annual report and submitted it for the September 30th, 2024 deadline. And for the pollutant reduction plan, just want to note the MS4 training was completed at the September regularly scheduled meeting. Moving on down to the sanitary sewers. So the bid opening for Alcosan regionalization as well as the 10% reduction plan that's currently being budgeted for 2025 for construction. And we are currently working with the manager on the budget for the sewer items. The Alcosan Grow application as well, just wanted to make note, we anticipate that award will be any day now. And as soon as we become aware, we will let the manager know of any awarded funds. The Ashley Court project, so pre-construction meeting was held September 17th as well. They are currently working on pre-construction televising and they will use this to order materials. And we anticipate that they will be lining sometime around the end of October. Only item to note on the next page is just the Ardmore Boulevard sanitary lining. Is the remaining lining is going to be budgeted as part of the 2025 budget on the LLC's recommendation end. With regards to Westinghouse Lodge, most of the items have been completed. There are a couple punch list items that remain outstanding. We are currently working with the contractors to get those items finalized. And we are requesting final pay requests for the couple contracts that still remain outstanding. And our engineer's report has a table update of which portions of the project have been closed out, which ones still have a punch list item remaining, et cetera. So we did, LSC met with the manager back earlier this month. We did discuss the Greenway Trails and Recreation Program for the Forest Hills Park improvements. So we're currently in the planning process of that project. Public safety. So we, LSC provided the revised layout for the Sumner Avenue parking evaluation and the markings for the traffic feedback signs. The police department provided the exhibit. So we believe everything has been submitted there. So for the public steps and walkways, the design work has been about 95% complete. We just got a ENS package sent over to the Allegheny County Conservation District for their approval, as the disturbance was great enough that we did need to at least send in the ENS for their review and approval. On the grant side of things, last year's statewide LSA grants, that award date was originally supposed to be September 17th. They had to kick it a couple weeks and they advised that they anticipate either this week or next week, they'll be announcing award of those funds. So as soon, again, on that one, as soon as we know something, we will be letting the manager know. And the statewide LSA applications are now open as well. That's just a reminder there. And I believe that is all I had for my report.
Thank you very much. We'll follow this up with the foreman's report.
I submitted my report. I forgot that it's coming up, and obviously we see that they're out there, so I'll be starting on 14th. We will be still putting up the signs, I'm gonna bring dates this, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the sign of the dates, but I'm just gonna put into 1 year. That simply the schedule is gonna be on the borough website, so they can find it there, and then after next year. Crack sealing starting in a couple weeks as well, and it'll be going to the hay ride and then light up the hill. Then we're gonna get to start with the cleaning up the building, maybe order that. Any questions, John? What I think undertold that they went and rebuilt, but they was really refurbished and fixed up and rebuilt the hay wagons. Yeah, I think everyone should take a look at that material. It was really nice and speaks to the broad skills that are public works department. I thank you. Yeah.
If there are no other questions. Next, I'd like to come back to the manager and ask a few questions or just get an update on the steps and sidewalks grants.
I'd like to hand that to the engineer as they're finishing up the information for the bids.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us some additional information on these steps and sidewalks grants, where we stand on that?
So I did bring a copy of our plan view drawings, should you wish to review them. I did bring a copy of our plans for that. We are going to be dividing up the work between a base bid and a couple add alternates just to see what we can get out of the grant money. The bid specs have been drafted and are currently under internal LSSC review along with the drawings. And I anticipate that once we hear back from the County Conservation District, that the project will pretty much be ready to bid at that point.
Okay, thank you. Any addition? Mr. Bacon?
That's still going to be concrete work that could potentially be done in the wintertime.
Yes, concrete work is still anticipated.
Any other questions? That concludes Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Bacon?
Thank you. Right, may we have the manager's update, please?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Bacon. Wanted to give, it's been mentioned, the GTRP grant update, which is the update for Main Park. I did meet with Borough Property to discuss some possibilities and some changes that we'd also gotten approved from the state to potentially just shift a few funds around based on equipment that's available. And in this case, one of the things was the rubber undersurface, which we're going to use that instead for equipment because we can't resurface the entire park. So I expect that we'll actually be able to begin moving forward with that very quickly. I know we also, Public Works may be able to also do some of the work at a lower cost, which will give us more flexibility to look forward to those things. The EV charger, and again, unfortunately, Mike did have to leave, but I want to thank him, and I know Phil and Tyler were also doing work. I imagine some of the other guys were as well. But they figured out the most effective route to put in that charger for the police vehicle, which was much better and about the same cost, if not a little bit cheaper than what Chief Williams and I were thinking about, just because they had the inside knowledge. So that's been up and running for about a week now. And the feedback I've gotten from Chief Williams is that it is working extremely well. It's card controlled by them, and the vehicle gets filled up well within an 8-hour period. So they could technically drive it more often than needed. It was 13 hours beforehand. So thank you for council's approval moving forward with that. And as far as a Siemens update, the new AC unit was installed at the pool. Obviously, it's been a little difficult to see how well it works at the moment. But the third unit is fully installed and operational. And the solar, I finally got the paperwork back, but apparently the solar went online at the end of August at that site and has been generating, and I'm waiting to see what we're going to get for as where the bills come in, but I'm registering our site since we do own that. And then at the Public Works campus, we're still waiting on Duquesne Light to change out one of the meters so that we can get that one online.
I have two questions. When we received the Ford, we talked about having a ribbon cutting when the charger is ready as well. Are we still planning to do something like this, to a ribbon cutting, invite like I know Abigail Salisbury or Shay Costa invite? I think we talked about that, but I'm not sure if we're doing anything. Second question, net metering. Do we have any updates on that? Are we doing it, or is Siemens doing it to request net metering? Because the pool will generate lots of excess energy, I think, right now, and no one is using it, and we will get much less money than if we have net metering.
So net metering is in effect for what we have right now. I'm going to be working with Wilson Engineering, as they've been working with the energy rebate and other experts at Duquesne Light as the middleman, to make sure that the net metering takes effect for all of our solar, because that was the plan and continues to be so. Any other questions for me? That concludes my report then.
Thank you, Mr. Abrams. I'm not aware of any recreation board items. Confirmed. Okay, thank you. And I believe all of the engineering reports were already covered. Or about Westinghouse Lodge. Thank you. I do not have anything from Tree and Shrub Committee. As a committee business report, I would just state that the potential plans for the main park are something that we will be seeking community input on and taking plenty of time to go through, and please look forward to that in the future. And that concludes borough property, unless there are any other questions. All right, thank you.
Mr. Matt, you can head on home unless you want to stay. I wouldn't either.
I was gonna say,
Oh, okay, for sure.
Switch chat.
Thank you, Madam President. Does the borough manager have anything to report? Okay.
Answer them, but just in short, I think it's been the case as always, very busy. We've got a lot of stuff going on in October and good amount of stuff accomplished in September, and I'm looking for allowing them time to go to the ITMA conference last week. Valuable for networking, for ideas, and see how other communities are doing things. We're here to see what we can, how we can bring some of that area.
Okay, thank you. So I get my own microphone, huh? Can I thank the Academy for everything you've done for me? Okay, thank you. I don't think there's much to cover tonight. Mr. Tomasik's issues were listed to be in ops and policies. I guess the only thing I could suggest is the manager sometime when time permits. I know you have nothing to do, but you might want to check out that question of can we park in the front yard? Yeah, it's one of those, I've seen that happen. It's probably not the way to go long term. And also the feasibility of his last question. There at some point, there should be an ability for code enforcement to say, okay, this is dragging on too long, but I don't know how feasible that is. The other question that came up, I had asked that the issue of parking in lots overnight be put on my agenda only for informational purposes tonight. It has come up very quickly and none of us have had time to really give any thought to it. As you know, we had residents come here with their thoughts about restricting parking, overnight parking. As you can see, there is an ordinance saying we shouldn't be doing that. So we have a little bit of a disconnect. I'm not sure why that happened. In the meantime, yesterday, Mr. Abrams sent me over what he found in the ordinances from 1992. And even setting aside the issue of whether we allow parking in these lots overnight, these ordinances, you could probably drive a truck through. And I suspect we need, in addition to addressing this, we got to fold it into a full discussion about these ordinances. So again, if it's possible, maybe for the next ops and policies, our borough manager could look into that. Yes, please.
I would like to comment.
Please.
I heard Saturday morning from resident about that issue. And I did my legal research, it's perfectly legal for federal council to identify an ordinance and not enforce. So setting up the fine is perfectly legal. However, I think they're all public elected officials. And it's highly important, I think, if you're public elected official, to listen to your residents. As federal council, I think it's always important to involve your council members. And so I think it's just, it was badly done, and we shouldn't have done that, and we should talk about it. But now with the issue, like I said, Braddock Road is one of the few roads which is very busy, very tight, 2 lanes, school buses go up and down at the same time sometimes. So we can't allow parking for obvious reasons. So I just don't get the why. So we don't allow parking there. Why don't we allow parking at our school lot? It makes perfectly sense for residents to park there. And also, it's actually a driveway. I don't think it's a driveway, it's not a park. It is kind of part of a park, but it's really a driveway. And we are renting out the pool and the resting house as a event. So if people have a social event and they maybe drink too much and they decide to maybe leave their car overnight and seek alternative transportation, something we should encourage. So again, I think there are multiple reasons why we should allow parking there, and I can't see any single reason why not, except it was an ordinance in 1992 and we should enforce it. But my recommendation to council is we should just access ordinance. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, if I can mention, I thought maybe let's just make it informational tonight and not start weighing in when we really don't know enough about these ordinances. And let's give it some thought. This is truly the first time in maybe 20, 30 hours I've known about this. And I think for us to start making judgments about, there's a lot of moving parts, all of them are very legitimate, but let's not start it tonight. I really appreciate we had time to think about it. Yes, Mr. Watkins.
I believe these signs are supposed to. I have the mic.
Yeah, sure.
I believe the signs are supposed to go up relatively soon, like within the next week. Do we have to do that, or can we postpone the updating of these signs until we have a chance to adequately review?
I think the answer is the answer to what we've been doing for a long time. We haven't enforced it, so we don't have to rush in tomorrow morning and enforce it. We can give ourselves a month or two. There's no rush to make this decision. There are a lot of moving parts, and I think there's very legitimate issues on, and it's just not a simple black and white issue. So I'd like us to think about it a little bit before we get too lost in everything. Madam President?
That questions.
Mhm.
And I had hoped that the chief would be here tonight.
Yeah.
For instance, I don't have information on, all I have is a lot of hearsay. And I would like to get from the chief himself, has anyone ever been cited Has anyone ever been warned? When do we make allowances? As far as I know, there were allowances made all the time, specifically.
Yeah.
There's a procedure in place. And right now, everything is on hold until we have additional information. So parking is now allowed there. Signs aren't going up until we get more information for discussion.
Yeah, because I think that's absolutely true. And it was one of the things I had listed. The chief is not here and I have no idea what his thoughts are on it. But yeah, the more you dig in, there's like, well, I didn't think about this or I didn't think about that. So let's all give it some thought. We don't have to do anything right away. Yes, and I think I think the first thing I'd like to ask the borough manager to delve into the ordinances, because I saw a couple things in there that made me question. Like I said, you could drive a truck through that thing. So if it's okay, we'll move it on to the agenda for November. And in the meantime, we'll just try to learn more about the subject. I don't have anything else on my agenda that I'm aware of. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
If I can just make it.
Yeah.
I think your comment about driving a truck through the ordinance is absolutely spot on. Like there are so many parking ordinances that seem to be very unfamiliar. And coming from the Edgewood Acres area, on my section of Castlegate, there's a unique, as far as I can tell, parking situation supposedly involving borough long-term decisions that I couldn't find any mention of in the ordinances. So seconding that call for a slow, thorough, long-term review and maybe consider some loosening of restrictions in some of those areas.
I appreciate that. Anyone else? Anything else for public ups and policies? Then I think I'm done and that maybe we're done. Oh, no, one more thing.
Mike,
Oh, sure.
There was one piece that actually made it onto the public agendas that did not make it onto council. I'm still working out how I'm gonna get things straightened out. And that was for borough property, if everyone's okay with it. Or do you want me to just do it?
Do you know?
Okay. I am actually requesting a motion pending ratification to approve the sale of the public works truck that was placed on Municipid that was sold in the amount of $10,600 to be approved at this time, so we can notify the winning bidder, at which point we'll work through the paperwork and council again can fully ratify it during the business meeting.
That's the mid-90s international dump truck.
Yes, two-wheel drive with the plow. And I think the fact that we got 5 figures is amazing. Is there any objection to that at this point? Okay, we will notify the owner and place it for ratification at the October 16th meeting.
Anything else? Then this meeting is closed. Thank you.